Hello, I'm Jacqueline Holstead, and you are listening to On Point Conversations. In this podcast series, we share creative marketing, content, and branding strategies that help your business successfully navigate the new normal marketing environment. And I am Jacqueline Holstead. And in my podcast today, I'm going to talk about creating your own personal brand. The reason I'm bringing this up at this point in time is because what we found was there was a great resignation. A lot of people left the workforce. They were looking for other jobs. They had an idea that they were going to follow their dream. Maybe they were going to start their own business. And after the pandemic now, we're seeing people come back. I'm hearing more from people who've been displaced. They're no longer in their job. They're looking for something else, and it's a tough job market, very tough. So today I'm going to talk about one of the things that I talk about in working with people who probably are looking for another job. I don't place people, but I work with a lot of companies and often know of some things that might be available. So what I'm going to talk about today is creating your own personal brand, which I think is really important because brands are not just for companies. A personal brand is an important key to your own individual development and success. And when you've identified your own personal brand clearly and consistently, you've defined and expressed and communicated who you are, how you're unique, your goals and accomplishments. So all of that takes some work. It takes some thinking, it takes some planning, and it takes some research. So it's more than just how your website looks or your logo or your business cards are designed. It's you. And it is very uniquely you. It's going to allow you to distinguish yourself from everyone else. What is unique about who you are and what you do and the experience and expertise you bring. So your brand is also about making yourself known for more than just your skills and talents, but your brand is what you stand for. Successful people, you'll find if you follow them, they have their style. They build a brand based on that style and they boldly express and promote themselves to their connections through that brand. So letting your connections to your true, authentic worth is very powerful and it makes you more memorable. You often see, I do, resumes that have been created by someone else or by a template. It doesn't say anything about you. And so we go back and look at those things that say things about you. So the very first step is figure out and tell your story. Now, how do you do that? Well, the first thing that I look at is personality. And you can look at these any way you want to. There's a series of them. But to look at your purpose, it's your personality. That's where you kind of get started. That's where your personal brand comes in. Because your brand personality includes that set of compelling traits and human characteristics that captures the essence of who you are. So what are those consistent attributes that others tend to associate with you and that you associate with yourself? They could be confidence, they could be serious, they could be fun, quirky, exciting. So think about those famous personal brands, past and current, that we all know and love, or maybe you don't even like. Look at things like Oprah, Michael Jordan, Betty White, Obama. What are their personal brands? And once you start looking at that, you look at their personality, and their personality comes through. And that's their story. So your story can be a very powerful component of your personal brand. Everyone loves a good story. We all know that. It's one of the reasons storytelling is so effective in traditional marketing, because it's going to create this emotional and human connection. A great story tells people who you are, what you stand for, and how you got to where you are today. It's your journey from nothing to greatness. So my story starts in that I was born and raised in North Dakota on a farm. So I have the background of a farming community. I have a background of a business. My parents ran the business. I have that background, and sometimes, depending on the client, they find that very interesting and they find it very compelling to learn more about that. In fact, I've worked with some farming type products that have really appreciated that background. Now, once you've defined your personality, and I'm telling you that's a big part of it, it takes some time. I'm just glazing over it. Step number one, and I would start, what I did when I did mine a number of years ago, was write and write and write. Observe, and then ask others that you trust what they associate with you. And it's really interesting. I enjoyed it. It's a long time ago. I probably should do that again. But anyway, it's adding your personality. Then what you want to do is package consistency. Now, you know when a brand that goes with a company, they put a lot into their packaging. Your own personal brand is gradually going to expand your presence across a number of marketing channels and social networks. So as you're creating and optimizing your social profiles, you're going to want to maintain consistency in how you present your personal brand. People generally don't like it when someone's mad one day, happy the next. It's like this roller coaster. They want to know that your brand, that you are consistent. So not only do you want to make it easy for folks to identify you, but there's also a good chance you'll run into other people who share your name. So you want to be sure that you're sharing information about yourself, your name, a consistent image, and I promote doing a picture, by the way, a photo of yourself instead of your dog or your cat or some abstract thing. A consistent image is going to really help avoid that confusion of you being somebody else. In fact, recently I was looking up a person that I graduated from high school with, and her name is Barbara Grant. And so I got on LinkedIn and I found a Barbara Grant, sort of looked like the person, so I approached her on it, but it wasn't the right person. So there are people who can have your similar name. So you want to be sure you're getting your name across and who you are with your image, and also consistently, so there's no confusion. Now, first of all, you want a logo that's designed around your name that you use consistently. And I mean consistently being on your email, your letterhead, any communication, let's put it that way. Any communication that you send out has a logo designated around your name that you use consistently. You want the same profile pictures across all channels, a consistent background and cover images used across social channels, some special color scheme used in media and social promotion, and the dress style that you want to portray. So keep in mind that you need to be consistent in how you communicate and use social media. That means you want to promote regularly and you want to maintain a consistent personality. This is going to be hard of how you package and present your brand. So look at your package consistently. Look at it from a critical eye and ask someone else to look at it. The third thing you want to do is present your expertise. So once you get your brand promotion and your value promotion, you're getting people to start paying attention. It's going to be your expertise that will make them follow you and remain engaged. So the most successful influencers focus their attention within a specific industry, whether it's vertical or a niche. Within that area, they're going to showcase the expertise through content marketing, public speaking, interviews, and direct engagement. You can position yourself as an expert by developing a blog or consistently creating high value, of really top-notch content, guest posting on relevant authoritative websites, answering questions on social media, and participating in discussions on social channels and groups within like Facebook and LinkedIn and Threads and other things that are coming up. And then rounding up that great content and providing expert advice to your list subscribers. Because in the meantime, and I should have covered this under packaging, you're going to want to be developing your list. So things that you promote a list so that people come back to you and you come back to them with good information. The other thing you're going to want is a really solid value proposition. So a key component of building a personal brand is knowing what you have to offer your audience. What exactly are you giving them in exchange for their time, attention, and money? Whether you plan to offer resources for marketing tips, growth hacking advice, or to be an expert on operational efficiency, you need to be able to communicate it clearly to your audience. And boil it down to a simple sentence you could use if anyone asks you to describe yourself. If you can do that, that's wonderful. That is your key, because you're not going to have a lot of time for people to wait around to have you explain what you do. So if you can do that consistently and in a single sentence in a short amount of time, it's golden. The other thing is visibility. So for any of your personal brands to grow, it needs to be visible to an audience. That means you need to be actively promoting yourself and marketing your personal brand on the web. So many of the tips I already provided for sharing expertise are also going to contribute to growing your brand's visibility. One of the keys is to get active and remain consistent. And I don't think a lot of paid promotion of any kind is necessary if you're actively and organically promoting yourself consistently through content marketing, social engagements, interviews, and community involvement. Consider joining a board. Consider volunteering with a group that is in your area, or that is in your expertise, or that you want to belong to. Because the other thing is, you're going to want to form connections, because you're only as good as the people you know. Connections are a really important part of building your personal brand. Not only will your connections help introduce you to others and expand your network, but it's also going to provide you a growing list of testimonials that speak directly to your character. So what you're going to want to do is form those connections. Testimonials and peer reviews are one of the strongest trust signals and are invaluable when your audience is considering doing business with you. Work on your positioning. This is a very competitive world of work. It's important that you set yourself apart from others. And you've often probably heard, if you're in marketing, you've heard of brand positioning. And that's really about claiming that unique and sacred space in the minds of your audience and community. It's where you sit, it's where you build, it's where you strengthen, it's your advantage, and you make that your go-to choice instead of some other alternative. So let's talk a little bit about when you're defining your position. Here are some 3 questions you can look at to help establish that. One is, what is the category, industry, position that I'm in? It's really important to understand the exact lane that you're in right now in this really broader landscape, and where the opportunities you can own. And are there any gaps you need to fill? Are there any knowledge gaps you need to fill? Are there any connection gaps you need to fill? Just look at that question. The second one, who is my best target audience? Because you cannot and should not be all things to all people. You can't. That's why you must narrow your target audience down to your ideal individual and really understand their specific needs and pain points. What do you need to influence to get you from point A to point B? Who are the stakeholders and sponsors that are help you fuel your growth and position you for success? And then the third question is, what really sets your brand apart from relative to others? What sets you apart from others? After you've identified your specific field of play within this very crowded landscape, and you're also your best target audience, then you are going to define what it is about you and your story that makes you stand out. Well, there are many others in similar roles and fields. There's only going to be one of you. So once you clearly answer those questions, then you're much closer to setting your own personal brand for that position. As we've said, you also have a presence. We've talked about that a little bit, and I want to delve into that just a little bit more. You have got to have a presence on LinkedIn. You have to have a brand. You've got to really be intentional about building that profile, making it stand out, and show the best of who you are. Now, what are some of your aesthetic elements of your brand? One is your brand presence. That's how your outward expression and identity system that serves to trigger recall and recognition of you and your brand. It's how you show up. your visual representation. We talked about packaging before, your logo, your tagline, your bio, your headshots, your tone of voice, the words you write, the things you say. It's actually the very tangible representation of all of the previous elements combined. One of the best platforms, I think, is LinkedIn, at least at this point in time. So if you've got a presence on LinkedIn, you have to brand. You've got to really be intentional about building that profile, making it stand out, doing posts, showing the best of who you are, both in the photo and the description. Now, photos and visuals are very big. That's where some of the biggest mistakes are, because they want to just have a splash. You want to have consistent visuals and images that represent you and the type of position you're looking for. So try watching some of your favorite online videos with the sound turned off and see maybe some level of engagement. Is the story complete? Is everything there? Without the audio, is it very clear what they're doing? And it is really wise to have a multi-sensory approach when it comes to developing and communicating your brand presence, which means that you have something written, you have video, you have interviews, you have different ways of people seeing you in action. So in closing, I'm just going to say, use the power of your community to amplify your brand. So remember that your personal brand is not just your logo or your headshot. Your brand is that interconnected suite of elements that includes your purpose, your positioning, your promise, your personality, your presence, all those P's. And when defined, it's defined with intention. You don't want to let someone else define you. You're defining yourself. And you want positions that amplify your powerful story to everyone that's listening. Also, I consider doing more within the community. The power of the community and getting out into the community. And now that COVID is over, we can get out. Again, as I said before, there are boards you can belong to. There's volunteer types of positions you belong to. You don't want to do all volunteer, but you can get out within your community. And that actually helps you learn more about what it is they're looking for, their values, and the things that you might need to fill in the gaps of some of the things that you don't know. And if you've got a real depth and breadth of experiences and you've been able to nurture yourself throughout a professional journey, then you might want to look at, can you, in fact, exemplify that a little bit more in this now new professional journey? Because now if you're displaced, you're out looking for it, or even if you quit, or however you've gotten onto the job market again, you're presenting yourself. And you might look at that professional journey, how that worked, and how you want your next professional journey to work. I hope this helped you. I'm going to be continuing to talk a little bit more about personal brand identity. And I've talked about personal brand identity today because it's top of mind and because I've gotten more questions about it, because people are wanting to know how they get out versus just sending multiple resumes and getting multiple negative responses. And even when they get a response, they have multiple interviews. So again, it's connections. We all know that. It's building your personal brand. And I hope that some of these ideas helped you. If you have other questions or you'd like me to help you with something, just go to my onpointthinking.com website. You can go to the contact page. I read and answer those emails that come through that way. And I just really want to wish you a really good journey in your next phase of either your career or your job, and that you always look at keeping that personal brand even when you're secure in a job, because it can help, because we all know that sometimes things aren't as secure as what we think or what we plan. Thank you and have a really great day. Thank you for listening, and I invite you to join me next week as we talk more about specific actions you can take to reach your own business goals. You can find my library of other inspiring podcasts like this one at onpointthinking.com. Again, thank you for listening. This is Jacqueline Holstead at On Point Conversations.